Here's another session of Walking with Randy. I just wanted to touch base with you again. We're going to talk about writing your first book, 8 ideas to get started. Writing your first book, 8 ideas to get started. As I said, this is another session of Walking with Randy, where we talk about writing, speaking, coaching, marketing, and marriage. And again today we are talking about writing. I'm trying to get away from the glare of that light that I just turned on. All right, 8 ideas to get you started. First of all, figure out what kind of book you want to write. Do you want it to be fiction or do you want it to be nonfiction? Secondly, figure out about how long you want your book to be. Whenever I say how long you want it to be, I mean what length of book is it that you desire to write. You can look at books in your genre and see how long they are. Newer books are shorter than what they have been in the past. And since you're writing a first-time book, that may be good news for you, so it would keep you from having to be intimidated about the number of words that you may write whenever you're doing that. Well, once you figure out the length, though, it should be somewhere between 100 and 200, just as a general rule of thumb, in my estimation, as to how you should do this for your first time book. Now, if your book is nonfiction, figure out a problem and figure out 8 steps to that solution. Now, these are not hard and fast ideas whenever you do this, but they are general guidelines. So figure out 8 steps to the solution. It's like you're on one side of a stream, you're trying to get to the other side, and so you have 8 stepping stones that would help you get to the solution to the problem. Now, if your book is nonfiction, again, you present a problem. You have a character, a main character, who has a problem that he or she wants solved. And as they go on a journey, they may come across a guide. Many times they will. Someone who has gone before, or someone who will help them along the journey. If that's the case, then the guide will challenge them to go to action. And if they don't have a guide, then just the situation will challenge them to action. So you have a character or problem, maybe a guide, a challenge, and then you figure out obstacles along the way. It looks like they're going to succeed, and then it looks like they're going to fail, and so forth. You go up and down until you have an ultimate victory in mind. So that was the 4th idea. The 5th idea is to figure out your method for writing. Now, if you are pretty good at writing, then you just want to do regular writing. Is where you sit down and you write sentences and paragraphs and ideas. Here are some other methods that you might want to consider, and some of these are even faster than the others. You could have someone, you could come up with a list of questions, and you could have someone interview you, and you could record the interview, and then you could have it transcribed. Or you could speak your book. You could do a speech about each chapter, and then you could have that transcribed. And it's not all that expensive to do it nowadays. In fact, there's a program that is called Otter, that's OTTER.ai, and you can have a certain number of words per month transcribed for free. So you can speak your book, you can have it transcribed. And of course, then you'll have to clean it up and realize that your written speech will be different from your spoken speech. But you can do that. There's also dictation software. When you do that, you speak your book, but you do have to speak in the punctuation, like commas and periods. And sometimes, though, you can do a combination of both. I do this sometimes in using dictation software. I will also, on the keyboard, use the return keys instead of saying new line, new line. But anyway, figure out what method you are going to use to write your book. So now you have figured out what kind of book you want to write. You've figured out a problem or problems to be solved, either in fiction or nonfiction, and then you're going to write. Now the key is to write every day, except maybe Sunday, or maybe Saturday and Sunday. But you figure out what your work days are and write every day. And there are two methods of doing this. One has time as the constant, and the number of words is the variable. So whenever time is the constant, you set a timer, and you write for a specified period of time. And whenever the timer goes off, you either put an ellipses there, or you hurriedly finish up your thought along that line. And then you go to the next timed section that you would do. I have found great success in writing in 5-minute segments, sometimes 6-minute segments, and sometimes as much as 10-minute segments. But have a timer. I like this method. The other method is to have the number of words as the constant. That means that time is going to be the variable. So if you have the number of words as the constant, then you know how many words per day you're going to write. Are you going to write 500 words a day, 750 words a day, 1,000 words a day, 2,000 words a day, maybe even 3,250 words a day? You figure that out and you write every day. Then another idea is to get the rough draft done. Get the rough draft done. You can't edit something unless you have something to edit. Now, for some people, to write the whole rough draft first just drives them crazy because they are really perfectionists and they want to have a good product the first time. Well, the way to do that is to write quickly one day. The next day, start off going back over what you wrote the day before and do the editing there. And that will satisfy most people who really like editing as they go along. And then after that, then you would have either your timed session or you would have your session where you're going to complete your number of words. But at any rate, get the rough draft done, and then you can get in that deeper edit. You can get in and putting more interest factors in. You can get into tweaking it to your delight, to how you would have it to be. And so that is the final step, is to edit it and learn about editing. Edit it to the best of your ability. Figure out whether you want to hire an editor and have it done that way. Edit and publish. If you're going to self-publish, then of course you're at that step already. But if you are having a traditional publisher, you're going to have an editor, professional editor, going over your book. Even when you're self-publishing, many times you will want to hire an editor who will go over the book for you. But these are 8 ideas for writing your first book. Figure out what kind of book you want to write. Figure out what length of book you want. Somewhere between 100 and 200 pages, I would recommend. Then divide by a number between 6 and 10. You figure it out, and you will find out how many pages your chapters will be. And this is very rough. So let's say you have a 100 page book as your goal. You divide it by 10. That means your chapters are going to be 10 pages long. You have a 100-page book and you divide it by 6. Well, haven't got my division very well there, but let's see, 10 times 6 is 60. So, well, you can figure it out. Divide it by 6. 6 into 10 be 1. 6 into 40 be 9. I don't know. I should have done it ahead of time to have figured that out for you. But, well, let's see here. Between 6 and 10. Oh, I know what I messed up with there. Is it's not 6 and 10. Just figure out whether you want your chapters to be 6 pages long or 10 pages long. And then you will figure out how many chapters your book will be. So in the example I gave there, on the 100-page book, it would be 10 chapters or 1.9 or 19. That would be 19 chapters that you would come up with shorter chapters when you're doing that. Okay. I'm sorry if that wasn't clear. So if your book is nonfiction, present a problem. Come up with 8 steps to the solution. Could be 6, 7, 9, 10. But try for 8 steps to the solution. If it is fiction, you have a character who has a problem, who meets a guide, who is challenged to change his life and to solve that problem. He has obstacles along the way, and he has final victory. Then figure out your method for writing. Do you just sit down and write, just regular writing? Or is it better for you to maybe speak your book out and have it transcribed? Or would it be good for you to learn how to use dictation software? And maybe you can think of another method that you would use to write your book. Then get your rough draft done, then edit and publish. Well, I hope these ideas have been helpful for you. And until another session of Walking with Randy, I'm Randy Carney, reminding you that you can write a book.